Hello, YouTube divers. This is WaterDive 122, and yes, I am in a different location for this video. I'm in my room. Usually, I'm down in my studio, but the lights down there are not working. We're gonna get them replaced very soon, and then I will be making videos down there, um, on a consistent basis for you guys. Now that school is done with, and I finally have more time to record videos for you guys. Um. So I want to welcome you all to yet another edition of Magic Metal Mondays, and today we are going to be finishing ranking the catalog of Megadeth, those big four legends. Um, so last time we left off on number 8, and we are going to go from albums number 7 to my all-time favorite Megadeth album. So without further ado, let's get started. Coming in at number 7, 1985's Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. This album was Megadeth's debut. It was their debut. This definitely gives you a lot of Kill 'Em All by Metallica, those type of vibes. And considering the fact that this album came out 2 years after Kill 'Em All, this album is a really strong start for Megadeth. It's not really one of the most complex albums, but I would say it's up there in terms of songwriting, especially on songs like the title track and my favorite song on here, Mechanics. Absolutely love those two songs. Dave Mustaine does a great job on the primary guitar, if you will. This album basically just feels like a normal metal debut album. Or at least it does to me. I know a lot of Megadeth fans tend to enjoy this album. I understand why. It's technical. It's basically Megadeth in a freaking nutshell. But going forward, Megadeth has done a lot better stuff. So let's find out what that better stuff is. Number 6, the 2016 album Dystopia. Their most recent album, and it's not going to be their last album, because I read on an article that Megadeth is working on a new album, and it will be released very, very, very soon. Unfortunately, Dave Ellefson, I don't think he'll receive any credits on their new album, since he was recently, like very recently, I'm talking like 2 or 3 days ago, recently fired from the band, due to online sexual encountering or something like that. But yeah, I'm not gonna go into detail on that. If you want more details on the whole Dave Ellefson situation, you can go hit up Google or Wikipedia or any of that stuff. If you want to get more information on why Dave Ellefson was fired from Megadeth. So there's that. But Dystopia, getting back to Dystopia. Dystopia is a really phenomenal album, and it's up there with albums like Hardwired to Self-Destruct by Metallica and For All Kings by Anthrax as some of the best metal albums from 2016 for that matter. It might as well be my favorite album from 2016. Who knows? There are so many great songs on here, ranging from the title track to Poisonous Shadows. I love Poisonous Shadows. Great song by Megadeth. But unfortunately, this is one of those albums where Dave Mustaine is not able to perform at his usual vocal range, like on Rust in Peace or in a Countdown to Extinction or something like that, or albums like that. But this album is a really great treat, and it is a major improvement over their previous 2 albums, 13 and Super Collider, especially Super Collider. I absolutely love this record. It's heavy, it's doomy, it's dark, it's technical, basically everything Megadeth is, but more darker and a little bit more heavier and a little bit more deeper when it comes to songwriting. But Dystopia by Megadeth, coming here for number 6. Yeah. Number 5, we are going with 1994's Euthanasia. Now, this album, in my opinion, this is the last album of the classic Megadeth albums era. Basically, all the Megadeth albums from Peace Cells to Euthanasia. This is their final album of that era for me, and probably for a lot of Megadeth fans. This album is a really good album. And it's here in my top 5. Train of Consequences is a really great song. The title track as well, and of course the classic A Tout Le Monde. And like I said on my previous Megadeth video where I talked about United Abominations, I enjoy both recordings of A Tout Le Monde, even though the United Abominations album if the United Abominations version was a little bit unnecessary. I like both songs. I love the somber balladness of the Euthanasia version, and I love the upbeat version. I love the upbeat, poppier kind of stuff from the United Abominations version. But anyways, Euthanasia is a really great album from Megadeth. I highly recommend you check it out. This album freaking rules, and it sends out the classic Megadeth albums on a freaking high note. So, let's move on. Number 4, the 1988 album, So Far, So Good, So What. Now, this was the album that followed up Peace Cells, But Who's Buying, which is a classic Megadeth album in of its own self. And it is a little bit of a disappointment compared to Peace Cells, but I think they did an absolutely fine job on this album. Now, this was originally my number 6, and Dystopia was originally not my number 4, but I liked So Far, So Good, So What a little bit more, so I swapped those two to their older places, if you will. This album freaking smokes. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Into the Lungs of Hell, one of the best metal instrumentals of all time. I really love that song, and it opens up the album with a bang. In My Darkest Hour is also a really great song. It's a Megadeth classic. Hook and Mouth closes out the album with a bang. These three tracks are just so meaty, and this album is just freaking amazing. It's a wild ride, and it's basically like an appropriate sequel to Peace Cells, because both of those albums in terms of technical skills are very similar to one another, and it's that I can't help but really enjoy. So, with that said, So Far, So Good, So What from 1988 comes here number 4. Number 3, the 1986 album Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? This album is a really great treat, and before I actually gave this album a chance, I had already heard the title track, which is a really great song, but I was like, okay, outside of this amazing title track and Wake Up Dead, are there really other great moments on here? So I thought this was a great album, but I also thought that it was a little bit overrated, but I take those back. I take that back now. I gave this album a chance, and it freaking blew me away. Outside of Peace Cells and Wake Up Dead, you also have the two song combination of Good Morning and Black Friday. I absolutely love those two tracks. So, outside of those, the rest of the album is great. This was the final album to feature Chris Poland on guitar until many albums later down the line. I don't remember which album he rejoined for Megadeth. But this album is just freaking smokes. I love this album a lot. And I definitely think it deserves the hype and the attention and the praise that it gets. This is a classic album. Number 2, the 1992 album, Countdown to Extinction. Now, I've seen a lot of Megadeth fans debate on whether Peace Sells is a better album than Countdown to Extinction. I can see why, but for me, Countdown to Extinction holds a special place in my heart because this was the album that, for one thing, it got me into Megadeth, and 2, it was one of the first metal albums I have ever heard, specifically with the classic song Symphony of Destruction. Now, outside of the many singles that are off this album, Symphony of Destruction, Sweating Bullets, Foreclosure of a Dream, which are 3 of my favorite Megadeth songs. You also have the amazing title track. You have Skin on My Teeth. You have Ashes in My Mouth. This album is just top to bottom amazing. And it's an amazing follow-up to one of the greatest metal albums of all time, which was Rust in Peace. This album... Now, there are several steps down on this album compared to Rust in Peace. For one thing, Dave Mustaine is not really at his amazing vocal range as he was on Rust in Peace. And the songs are a little bit laid back compared to those on Rust in Peace. They're still Megadeth material, but compared to all the technical stuff they did on Rust in Peace, it's kind of a step down. But Marty Friedman still offers us amazing guitar solos, especially on songs like Symphony of Destruction, Foreclosure of a Dream, Sweating Bullets, and stuff like that. So, really, everything on this album is great. I just think that it's a little bit of a step down from Rust in Peace. So, yeah, it ends up here number 2. The Process of Elimination, we know what number 1 is. Let's talk about it. Number 1, the 1990 album, Rust in Peace. This is one of my top 10 albums of all time. This is my favorite album from 1990. And it's my favorite Megadeth album of all time. I mean, for one thing, the 1-2 punch of Holy Wars, The Punishment Due, and Hangar 18 just freaking knocks it out of the friggin' ballpark. The song Lucretia is also really great. Tornado of Souls. My goodness. That's my favorite vocal performance from Dave Mustaine. And it has one of my favorite Megadeth riffs. Oh, man. And the title track as well, Rust in Peace, Polaris, closes out the album on a freaking high note. This is almost a perfect album. It's a 10 out of 10 album, for sure. But if you remember from all of my previous videos where I talked about this album, it falls a little bit short compared to others, but this is still a freaking amazing album. And this is my Big 4 runner-up. It's my second favorite album from the Big 4, which is all the albums released by Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer combined. Yeah. This album freaking rules. I love this album, and it ends this list with a bang. So, number 1, Rust in Peace from 1990. So, thank you. So, with that all being said, that wraps up the Megadeth album rankings. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is Waterdive 122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.